Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review X. The film is directed by T. West, and it is an A24 produced horror, specifically a slasher about a film crew who goes to a ranch to film a porno. And it takes place in 1979 and is kind of an ode to slashers of that time. Yeah, it's kind of like a really well-polished Texas Chainsaw. You know, one thing it doesn't borrow from that time period is the low production quality. I think this film was really well made and very well shot. I feel like every frame was giving me the right angle on a scene, and the visuals and directing throughout are really playful. There were some moments where the directing was playful, but it wasn't like totally left field or crazy stylish. I really felt like it was pretty meticulous, like more so than you did. Like the framing and... I mean, I liked the directing. Like the lighting I thought was fine. I don't know, the lighting was good to me. I mean, and talk about stylized, it is definitely a very stylized movie. Like, think about all the kills. The first kill that happens. Oh yeah, I would have liked more than that probably though. I don't have a problem with the visuals. I just I'm not gushing the way you are. Definitely some scenes were more visually creative than others, but I thought that was like the standout part of the film. I don't know how to get much more specific than to say that it really had my attention throughout. And the way every frame was crafted felt like it really deserved that attention. There's also some really clever editing. Some of it I felt was like it took me out of the movie a little bit. Like those transitions that blink between the two scenes. Like I don't really get that. I sort of liked it. But overall I was just really happy with the level of detail that was put into this slasher. I think the movie delivers pretty well on what it sets out to do. It has a lot of fun with itself. It's got some good humor. But I was also interested to see how this movie would differ, knowing that a lot of it is kind of nostalgia or like an homage to certain movies. And it does in some ways, but it also kind of sticks true to the formula. Specifically in the way that it handles sex. In a lot of horror films, sex is very closely associated with like impurity, and this movie turns that on its head a little bit. There were specifically a lot of moments in the middle of the film where I thought it was doing this really well. There were conversations that the characters were having about their positions on sex. The Jenny Ortega character makes a decision that I did not see coming that got me interested in where that character would go. The middle of the film was actually where I was most vibing, I would say. There's also a really interesting sequence where it does this split screen editing thing. After this point though, the movie kind of just goes into playing out as a slasher would. And for me, I was maybe slightly disappointed that some of the ideas that it fleshed out didn't seem to grow or develop. It was kind of like, that's it for that. And then let's go be a slasher for the rest of the movie. I don't really know what it was supposed to do with those ideas because it seemed pretty clear from the beginning that the movie's attitude towards sex was supposed to be a subversion of what you normally see in a horror film where people are punished for having sex. And I didn't expect it to go deeper than that, so I wasn't really disappointed or let down. And I think the slasher part is obviously like really fun and it delivers on that premise and then some. Like if you are coming to see a slasher and you want to see some kills, maybe you're tired of like slow burn horror or not seeing enough blood or not seeing enough kills, like here you go. Here it is. This is your movie. Especially if you're expecting this to be the kind of A24 thought-provoking horror where the fear is internal. That's not really what this is. The prosthetics were great. The amount of blood was fantastic. The kills were really funny. And some of them were actually kind of like jokes. There was a lot of like really good dark humor in some of the kills. Yeah, the audience was laughing a lot. Like I didn't really feel like laughing, so I didn't chuckle like at all. But people were laughing quite a bit in theater. I think the kills offer the most surprise in how some of those are done. Though I think my issue would be maybe overall I wasn't that surprised with how the story played out. There wasn't really any element that was keeping me guessing. I didn't feel that suspensed. I wasn't necessarily that scared. So the movie, I guess, didn't really get me invested that deeply, which maybe is just on me. I would probably put that a lot on just what I like to see in movies and how I like to get invested. Yeah, I don't think a slasher movie has ever promised that kind of thing, and if it did deliver it, it would almost be going into the territory of another film, unless it's like Cabin of the Woods, you know, where that film went so far off the rails that it kind of became a different thing altogether. Like, this does stay within its territory. And a lot of the characters end up feeling kind of disposable. Once people start dying, it's like, there's no tears to be shed. And that's the style of the movie, again. Like, you're not supposed to cry about it. But I have seen slashers where I've been more invested in the characters, or there's been a mystery component that kind of kept me guessing or interested. I don't know, I was just maybe not like totally involved with this one, but I think most people will be. I think most people are gonna get what they want out of this movie. I thought some characters were a little bit cartoony or cardboard cutout-y, and I liked the ones that were less so. The characters I did feel invested in were Jenna Ortega's and Mia Goth's, and I thought both of them gave really strong performances. Mia Goth especially, it made me really excited to see her range. I could see her becoming a staple of genre film in general, and like A24 style stuff, but I want to see her kind of everywhere. I felt like both of them were really natural. I was surprised that I actually did care about the villain and what was going on in their mind. Even if the villain is kind of gross, you still can invest into where they're coming from a little bit. And that kind of gave the story a little bit of depth. I like that too. I liked that they garner a little bit of your sympathy and that they have a motivation that does tie into some of the ideas in the movie. I also like the incorporation of the vocals into the score. Spooky vocals. Oh yeah, I really like the score overall. It was great. The score felt a lot like Soundscape, and I would really love to listen to the score when it drops. There were some jump scares where they used the audio to like make you flinch, and it's such a common trope in horror movies that I can barely criticize it for that, but I was like a little bit annoyed when they did that a couple times. Yeah, it was only twice I remember though. Overall, this was a really fun, well-made, and campy slasher flick. I think a lot of people are gonna have a blast. I had a good time, and I was actually more interested just kind of in the filmmaking in general. I wasn't hooting and howling like some other people were. I thought it was fun. I had a good amount of self-awareness, the right touches of dark humor, plays with the genre a little bit in a way that I like, and in some ways I wish it went a little further with that. If you can't tell, I'm not like enthusiastic about this movie. I feel like it deserves a 7, but the amount I enjoyed it was like a 6, so I'm gonna kind of meet that in the middle and go with a 6.5. I would give this an 8. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Who's your ex?